Everybody, we're down here in a very sunny at the moment, Cheltenham, which I think is about to become rainy and stormy this afternoon. Hope everyone had a great long bank holiday weekend and with the coronation, etc. But anyway, back to business, and we're talking this month about a topic that's quite dear to our hearts, because obviously a lot of what we do in our services are designed to support agencies and expand. We're talking about taking your business to the next level. We support a lot of new start businesses, and we see a lot of new starters that probably don't reach their full potential. Now we're joined today by someone I worked with for about 12 months. Okay, and this is Howard from Jump Advisory. Yes, we both do work with the REC, etc. So Howard, can you just give us a little bit of an introduction on yourself and Jump Advisory?
Certainly, yeah. So thanks, Mike. I think that the best way to describe it is this is what 30 years of recruitment does to you. So, I started a long time ago in recruitment, with Rolodex, etc. And, through that sort of led some reasonably large businesses, big businesses, and sort of developed my own little recruitment agencies as well. In the start of lockdown, we had a great idea of creating our own little advisory company. So myself and four other people have developed an advisory company called Jump. And we deal in sort of advisory for small recruitment agencies to help them grow and scale, leadership training and development across all levels. We look at business growth, plans, strategy and tactics. And we help recruitment agencies sort of bridge that gap between, I think what we normally say is most recruitment agencies have a budget rather than actually strategy. And they try to develop that budget rather than looking at developing the strategy. So we help agencies grow and scale around that strategy to help them sort of move the steps forward along the way. So it's looking at setting milestones, setting targets, but looking strategic wise what they need to put in place as a foundation that they can actually grow and scale from. So that's very basically what we do.
Fantastic. Yeah, really great to have you here, Howard. Thanks for joining us. We spoke a few days ago and you had some great stats on sort of businesses and how many actually reach that potential and grow to sort of certain levels. I think you mentioned turnover levels, but what are the sort of the most common pitfalls that you see with the recruitment businesses you speak to over the years? What is it that you think stops these businesses reaching that next level?
Well, I think that's what we started the conversation about was, they have a budget and they believe hitting that budget is their strategy. And what we tend to talk about is, bill, and recruiters are great at billing. But what they're not great at is build. And it's about building your business. So if you start to think about it, 78% of the recruitment market in the UK has under 10 heads. And there's a reason for that. It's not because they can't grow, it's because they haven't got the capability and the infrastructure to actually grow. So we found that that's one of the reasons when you start to put an infrastructure in behind that is a strategic infrastructure that's nothing to do with the billing, then you start to see compound growth. And it's not about having accelerated growth, it's about having consistent deliverable growth that goes over a period of time. And it's about putting the right strategy and the right tactics in there. So we always think, what's your strategy look like? How do you execute that strategy? Do people like that strategy? And does it drive cash into your business? And so we start to think about those type of things. And that's whether that be your tech stack, your sales strategy, your employment strategy, your career strategy, and all of these little strategies are all part of your business. And what tends to happen is when people put them, let's take this sort of the regular sort of thing. If you think, according to Perkbox, 43% of the recruitment marketplace turns over in year one. So that means for every people you take on, you lose one person every year out of two that you take on. And the reason that is because they haven't got a really good training strategy, they haven't got an onboarding strategy, they haven't got a good career plan. And so they lose people. And yet what they don't understand is that, based on a 25 basic salary, plus commission, etc., in year one, including your management time, training time, recruitment time, etc., it costs you around about 56k to put someone through year one. However, what we tend to see is that recruiters bill in year one between 60 and 90k. So it's year two when you start to make your money out of recruiters, and it's getting them from that zero run rate to a run rate at the end of the year of 10k. that then starts to see the billing side improve. But to get there, you have to put a strategy in place. So you see lots of companies get to 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then drop down to 6, back to 8, etc. And this is always happening because they haven't really got that strategy to retain staff. So what's your retention strategy? And it's those sort of things that we tend to look at and start to implement in with clients, rather than just looking at the billing side, because the billing is the easiest side. And most recruiters leave a company, open a recruitment agency, and that's all they've ever done is bill. And then all of a sudden building a business is completely different, and there are very different skill sets in that. So that's the things that we see, that people tend to have a budget but don't actually have a plan, and whether that plan's over 3 years, 5 years, and have strategic milestones for that plan. And that plan should be infinite. It should never stop. There should be milestones for them to achieve. But when do you want to achieve those things? So I think, if we were a 3-man business, we should be thinking like a 10-man business. If we were a 10-man business, we should be thinking like a 40-man business. But you tend not to do that. And so therefore, what you don't do is put the strategy in place and the infrastructure in place, that when you get to recruit those people, it's already there, rather than you scrambling trying to do that. By the time you've got that done, that you've lost those people. So it's really important to get that strategy in. So it's important that you start to think how that works. One of the big things that we're talking about at the moment is the disconnection between clients and recruitment agencies. And we spent a lot of time with LinkedIn and Microsoft, and they were saying clients are buying services in a very different way to how recruitment agencies are selling services. So where's the strategy? If we're going to carry on just blundering down that road of sell, but without changing our services, then we're switching quite a lot of clients off. So there has to be a strategic view of, do we have to change ourselves? Do we have to compartmentalize it? Do we have to start to develop different products that we can sell to clients? And yet when you go and talk to clients, that's exactly what they want. We don't want bums on seats recruitment. We want something different, something more malleable, something that we can work with, something that helps them build their business. But we never think about that. So we've got to start to think about our structure and what we do with that structure.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting point, because I know when we do our, you obviously run the courses for the REC on new startup companies, and I'm obviously doing the finance lot on there. And we're speaking to a lot of people, and they're saying, look, what about doing temp recruitment? They go, oh, I don't know whether we can afford to do that. Well, if you want to serve your customer, you might have to do temp and perm to make sure you stay on the PSL. Understand your customer, deepen your wallet with those customers, and actually look at the help. And we're part of that help, just as you are challenging the directors with their strategy on actually how you keep yourself in the game. Because otherwise, people cutting down PSLs, you'll be cut out from your customer, won't you?
Well, we see this all the time. We see this, what clients start to do. They come from a perm side, let's say, and they start to put a temp business in or a contract business in, and they suddenly have 2 or 3 temps running, but all of a sudden cash flow becomes a problem to them. And that's a strategy. But then what they do is they go to the market and they go to the first people, the quickest people that can give them a cash flow injection. But sometimes the terms and conditions, the client waiting, etc., is completely out of sync with what they want. And they suddenly find that they're now trapped in a terms and conditions that they can't get out of, or it's expensive to get out, because they didn't spend that time initially actually planning that that's what's going to happen. There's a milestone. We've started an agency today. In 6 months' time, we want to be doing temp. Well, get your credit line sorted out straight away, and that's the sort of thing that you need to start to think about. And that's part of strategy.
And not reactive. Strategy is the watchword there. We speak to so many recruiters, and you mentioned it earlier, Howard. Leaving they've been a good biller, let's say, and then they're going to set up on their own. All they've known is recruitment. And if they're not planning 6, 12, 18 months ahead how to build a solid foundation, then they're going to get caught out. They're going to sign up for lots of things they don't necessarily need: finance, CRMs, IT systems. They're tied in, and they're not planning ahead. They're not managing their business. They're just focusing on the billing side of things, and it's easily done if you haven't got that background. And that's where I think you need to speak to experts, speak to people who've got that knowledge to point you in the right direction.
So we look at the product, the process of, what do you need to buy, what do you need to build, what do you need to acquire, what do you need to mend, and you start to think, right, okay, what's the 5 things that you need to do now that will make your business accelerate? What's the 5 things that you need to do within the next year? What's the 5 things that you need to do in the next 3 years? And they shouldn't be the same thing. So that's 15 things that you may be having to do, and most of them will be strategic. because it's about building. So it's about looking at the sort of things that we do. So you start to think about, look at clients at the moment. So you're thinking, right, okay, what's the major thing that everyone's talking about? New business, new business, new business, and everyone's talking about a candidate shortage. But I'm thinking, well, what candidate shortage? You've got, yeah, I mean, with the recruitment agency today, and they've got 20,000 candidates on a database. Wow, 20,000 candidates. So let's think 20% of those candidates are looking for a job, because that's the natural 20% of people are looking for a job at any one time. Do you know which of those 20% are of your 20,000? So all of a sudden there's 4,000 candidates there that if you knew were looking for a job, you could be marketing to them, you could target to them, etc. But we know that 40% of the marketplace will move at any one time if they have the right job put forward to. So do you know what that 40% looks like? And the fact that we don't use our CRMs well enough, and we've got this drive to let's market to our clients, but you can't fill your client's job without candidates, and yet you've got far more candidates on your database. So why aren't we marketing to our candidates and driving candidates to us? Why aren't we spending more time nurturing our candidates? You go to the big market, go to the search markets where you're talking 60, 70 grand fees. They nurture their candidates over and over and over again. Our candidates, we treat them as almost like a throwaway one-time product. Oh, well, they had 5 for this job, they weren't right, so they're not right for anything else. But if we kept those candidates up to date, we marketed to them, and people say, well, what candidates want to know? They don't want to know how to interview. They don't want to know how to write a CV. They do when they want to get a job, but they want to know what the market's doing. They want to know what's happening in the marketplace, what's happening in their marketplace, what's going on. So the same news that you'd send to your client, you should be sending to your candidates, because they're interested in that news, and that's part of influencing them and marketing to them. But if we don't do that, then the amount of candidates that you've spent money on procuring, then what a waste of money. So, we should be building our databases.
Do you find, Howard, because obviously if you have got a temp desk and you've been used to billing and you get into that weekly cycle, is it a time management thing really, where you think, people should be saying, right, I need to put a day a week, a day a month aside to strategize this? Or is it just, they just don't have it, not even on their consciousness?
So 40% of your day is habit. So it's about creating the right habits and doing the right things. And I do quite a number of posts about, Muhammad Ali said, I train easy so I can, I train hard so I can fight easy. Where in recruitment, I think what we do is we train easy to recruit really hard. And part of that training is getting the habit of doing things over and over again, doing it repetitively, but doing it really, really well. And constantly doing that. So finding what works. And I think, compartmentalizing your day into certain blocks and doing certain things at that time. And people sort of moan about KPIs, but what KPIs do, they're an indicator of what's going to happen down the future. So if I was thinking today, if I haven't called a client today, then in 3 months' time I'm probably not going to make a placement because I haven't got any client work going through. And if that happens over a week, then that's going to be a problem. If that happens over 2 weeks, well, I'm too busy to call a client because I'm working these jobs, but they're low qualified, poor jobs, but I'm hiding behind them. And so the strategy should be, what's the strategy for your day-to-day activities? What are you doing? And so, yes, you could hit them with a KPI stick and measure them every day, but why not look at a trend over a certain period of time and say, right, okay, over a 2-week period of time, your trends go up and down, but now you start to see a balance of what's going on. And I can start to say, well, if we need to recruit, let's say, individually, we need to have 3 jobs on every single week, and I can see over a period of time that on average we're doing 2.5, then we're going to miss target. If I can see on an average we're doing 3.2, then I can see, right, we're going to overachieve target. So what's the strategy then to help us maintain that level of activity? And that's about creating good habits within the business. It's knowing what good looks like and then replicating that. And you can only do that by enforcing habit into the business and good habit.
Yeah, and I think the point that I'd make out to people, especially if people watching this, that you are setting out on the journey, or think about setting out on the journey, don't be frightened by it, because actually, even for business like us, quite large businesses, it's exactly the same issues, except they're just more of them. So the issues that Howard's talking about do not go away. They've got to be a fundamental in your business if you want to keep on expanding.
Yeah. And you're right. And I'll give you a prime example. So in 2003, I ran the London Marathon, and I trained really hard and got into a habit of Sunday morning doing a long run, etc. And 3 weeks before you do your long run, I did 22 miles. and worked out that if I did that pace all the way through, I'd be on target for a 3:45 marathon. I thought, right, okay, I'm going to smash that. Arrived, obviously training in the north, it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy. Arrive in London, it's 22 degrees. So I filled myself full of water. My running partner with me said, you know, at 7 miles, I've never seen anything like it. You're sweating, my heart rate is off the scale. And she said, I suddenly started, here do you count? Because I went back to basics and I was counting my steps, 1, 2, 1, 2. And so I just went back to basics and did the basics and got the basics really nailed down. But my strategy has suddenly disappeared. So I had to sort of invent a new strategy of where I was. But the fact that the basic habits of doing the things that you have to do to get the end got in. Don't remember going across London Bridge, don't remember going down the financial section, don't remember going passing the Tower of London. I remember hitting the Mall and thinking, thank God this is over.
Yes.
But the fact that my partner said, I can't believe, I've never seen you lock in. I said, my strategy then was just to get myself to the end, 1, 2, 1, 2. You didn't stop, you didn't slow down, you just carried on running in a world of pain. But you start to think that you're going to come across those bumps in any type of road, in any type of business, and going back to the core basics and getting the core basics right of billing and building is what makes businesses move and grow. And what tends to happen is lots of business thinks, oh, I'll do that really, really well. Oh, now I'm going to do that, now I'm going to do that, now I'm going to do that. So you've got one big flywheel going really, really quickly, but you take your sight off it and start to get another one. You get 3 or 4 going, and now all of a sudden they're all going, but they're all going really, really slowly, and one's slowing down because you haven't focused on one area. So I think you've got to start to focus on that one area of your business that starts to really capitalize and brings money into your business. Then you can start to build on it. But until that is going and really moving, then why change something else? And that's what I find lots of recruitment agencies trying to do. We'll do this, we'll do this, we'll do this. You know, get to a small centre. You know, so that if it geographically, start in a small centre and work it out rather, right, let's try recruit for the whole world. No, find a small area, not dominate that small area, build, 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 and build from there. But, you know, I think the way I describe it is most strategies should be crawl, walk, run. And what we tend to find is everyone's running, tripping over and falling over, and never thinking about, right, did I get the crawl stage right? Did I get the walk stage right? Now I can genuinely run. And I'll go back to that London Marathon thing. I was running, but really I had to go back to the crawl stage and properly, physically think about one step in front of the other to get myself to the end.
And that's why it pays to put those foundations in place early, get them in there solid, so you can then build, and you can come back to it when you need to, and you know, you've got that solid base to build from.
The other bit that you said, Howard, I think is really important is, you know, and when you're sprinting, exactly that, we see it every now and again. Got to have the facility this afternoon. You jump on board, you make the wrong decisions. Okay, choose your partners. Will that partner be fit for purpose when you get larger? And also, this links into other webinars we've done where we said to people, you know, there's plenty of help out there. You know, and Howard, you know, I put you in that example as well. You know, you're not taking big chunks of equity. You're becoming a trusted partner and trusted advisor, and therefore the relationship will be symbiotic and mutually beneficial. So, you know, just be careful who you jump on board with right from the word go. Benchmark what's out there. Yeah.
So I think that comment of strategy, execution, people, and the people are your employees, your clients, your candidates, and your partners, because your partners can massively help you develop and do what's going on. And so partnering with the right people all the time is really important. And, you know, everyone has a certain depth of knowledge, and it's where your knowledge runs out, can other people add to that knowledge to help you get to the next stage and develop to that next stage? And that's what it's all about. It's about, you know, leveraging everything that you can rather than being in this sort of silo where you're shouting and it's just echoing around the silo. You know, you've got to be able to sort of step outside of that and absorb as much knowledge. Yes, some you can ignore, some you can take on board, but it's about having people who've been there, seen it, done it to a certain degree, and how can they help you accelerate but keep that consistency. And again, you go back to the marathon. I remember trying to run the marathon splits that Paula Radcliffe was running. I lasted about 400 meters. You know, they are sprinting a marathon, but then you look at what Usain Bolt's sprinting. So you've got to think consistency along the journey that you're going. So whether it's a 100-meter sprint or whether it's a 26-miler, you've got to think about the consistency of that rather than just trying to sprint and then crash and burn. And lots of companies, we see lots of companies have massive growth and then fall away because they haven't put the infrastructure in there to keep that growth or sustain that growth. So it's about sustained incremental growth over a long period of time, not suddenly rapid growth and then fall away.
Excellent.
Fantastic. Howard, thank you so much
Yeah.
for that. Some fantastic points, really great insight. And I think that's, you know, that the people watching, the people that are going to watch this when we send it out, yeah, some really, really great valid points that they can take away to build on and grow their business. If there's any questions from anyone watching on the back of that, get in touch and we can feed that into our next webinars. But for now, I think that's all the time for. Howard, thanks very much for joining us.
Richard, thanks very much. Mike, thanks very much. If everyone's watching, if you want to get in contact or find me on LinkedIn, if you haven't already, yeah, we do offer a free 60-minute mentoring session. So if you want to get onto our website and send that through, so you've been on the Giant webinar, then we can pick that up with you. We're happy to offer that to everybody that comes on that. And again, if you're posting this out on LinkedIn, etc., then everyone's free to come along and do that.
Great, Howard. Thank you very much indeed, sir. And good day, everybody. Have a great day. Cheers now.
Cheers, Mike. Cheers, Rick. Thanks everybody.